So why don't foster care workers have rights at the moment? This seems like a crazy situation.
Absolutely crazy. The main reason, it's quite technical, is that the courts in England and Wales have held that foster care workers don't have contracts. Now, this is despite the fact that, as people will know, foster carers enter into written agreements with the local authority or IFA for whom they work. These agreements set out what has to be done, how it has to be done. Foster care workers are highly supervised with supervisory meetings and the social workers and whatnot. Many foster care workers are paid, not just the allowance, but also the fee element. And despite all of that, the Court of Appeal of England and Wales, in all its wisdom, has said that they don't have a contract. And the reason for that is because many of the terms in the agreements between foster care workers and local authorities are set by statute, like the Children Act and whatnot. And the Court of Appeal has said that a contract is something that needs to be freely entered into and negotiated. Now, it's a very, very bad legal decision, but that's been the bar that we've come up against. And this is important because to be a worker or an employee, you have to have a contract. So this has been the issue that we've been trying to grapple with. And because these decisions were as high up as the Court of Appeal, to reverse them, often you have to get past the Court of Appeal into the Supreme Court, which is also why it's taken a long time. Now, there's been one decision that's gone the other way in the past several decades, and that was our case on behalf of Jimmy and Christine Johnston against Glasgow City Council. Jimmy and Christine worked in a very specialist foster care program, which definitely helped, but we were able to establish in the Employment Tribunal that they were employees of Glasgow City Council, which means they had a contract. Now, Glasgow's appealed. We just the other day had the appeal hearing. We haven't had a decision yet, but we're feeling very confident about it. And this is really important, not because all foster care workers will automatically be employees, because they won't from the decision. They don't work in the same terms as Jimmy and Christine. But the important point is that we've established that foster care workers can have a contract. And that opens the door to us making similar arguments in other cases.
Wow, so it sounds like a really historic, amazing case.
Absolutely.
Aside from that, what else is the IWGB doing to achieve this worker status?
So we have test case litigation, a couple other cases in Scotland and a couple cases in England, in which we're trying to get around those earlier decisions from the Court of Appeal in England and Wales, either by arguing that foster care has moved on quite a bit from those cases which are somewhat older, and saying, you know, the way fostering operates now means they have a contract, or by trying to get cases past the Court of Appeal up to the Supreme Court. That's what's going on with the NUPFC case, for example, which we'll come back to. We're also making some arguments based on the European Convention on Human Rights, which is completely unconnected from EU law. And we have arguments based on EU law, because the definition of a worker in EU law has no requirement that the worker have a contract, and EU law still applies, and if there's a transition agreement, it will also apply during that period, so it's still something we can rely on for the time being. Now, in addition to the test case litigation, the IWGB runs the Secretariat for the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Foster Care Work. This is the first APPG of its sort in the Westminster Parliament, and we've brought together MPs and peers from across the political spectrum. And one of the things that they're looking at is enabling legislation to extend the employment rights associated with worker status to foster care workers. And if we're able to get legislation passed in the Westminster Parliament saying that foster care workers are entitled to these same rights, then that could be done regardless of whether foster care workers have a contract or not. So we have the test case litigation, and then we have what we're trying to do in Parliament, getting legislation passed, and hoping that one of those two strategies will bear fruit.
Amazing. No mean feat trying to get cross-party support in Parliament at the moment.